Okay, so let's dive into the pipeline. So this is really the bread and butter of the system. This is where you're going to spend a lot of time, where you're going to see the progress, see the movement, where your team is going to get excited around this. This product really comes down to the pipeline. So we've gone over some of the basics, but up at the top, we'll just cover really quickly what we're looking at. We have 3 active pipelines we can see here. From those 3 pipelines, we have $80,000 proposed, we have $75,000 pledged, we currently have nothing received, and we have a goal of 200,000. And again, that goal is set up by the admin in the back end. If you are the admin, you're not sure how to do that, check out the admin video. And that is really just representing for this specific process, for this pipeline, for this fiscal year, our goal is to raise $200,000. And then there's steward goals that break down even further into that goal, but we don't have to get into all that right now. So as we're looking at this, we see we have 3 cards. And again, each of these pipelines really just represents our team approaching a donor for a specific ask. That's all that this really comes down to. You can see, hey, Jim is the individual we're approaching. We're approaching for a year-end ask for the general fund. And if we go in here, we can see the steward is Josh. So that's our teammate that is going to be approaching them. So let's go ahead and just start a pipeline. The required fields are these top ones up here. We will title this, we're going to create this for Creed, and we're going to approach them for the COVID relief program. So we'll say Creed, and we'll say COVID relief program. Category of the giver, individual, church, foundation, or an organization. Pretty self-explanatory. Starting phase generally will be your first phase, but don't worry too much. You can move them around. Pull in your giver. Pull in your teammates that's going to be responsible. Select your donation target. We'll select our COVID relief program. Enter in how much you're going to be asking for. We'll say we'll just ask for a $1,000 donation. Pledged amount you're going to put in if you get a verbal commitment but haven't yet received the funds. So you can't put it in as a donation yet, but you have gotten that verbal commitment, so you can notify your team with that pledged amount there. You can set notes. We'll add a tag here. We'll say that this is a board member that we're approaching. The advocate, again, that's a referee. So if maybe someone else says, hey, Creed seems really interested, you should approach them, you can add them here. We'll just add Pam here as the advocate, and we'll set a reminder here as well. So we'll say we'll say set up coffee meeting. Set up coffee meeting. I'll set this for myself, and then you can select a date for this. I'll just set it for today so we can see what it looks like when it goes off. We'll hit save on that reminder and hit add on that pipeline. So you can see our total pipelines went up by 1, and our proposed went up by that $1,000 that we put in for a proposal here. So if I'm on my dashboard, there's a couple key things to look for in terms of using the pipeline. So the first thing that's pretty important here is looking at your upcoming reminders. So these are going to be key so that you don't forget to do things. Obviously, if you have follow-ups to do, you'll see them right here in front of you. Both of these are due today, so you can see we have notifications up in the top right as well. So you can see the giver is Jim Halpert, and then the task, and then the date. And if I click on this, it will pull me into that pipeline. So now this reminder is red. I can mark it as unread again to keep that notification up top. If I haven't yet completed that, that's really helpful. I can click on them here as well and do the same kind of process. Another key point to consider here is these reminders are going to be sent to your email the day that they're due as well. So if you have 4 reminders due today at in the morning, you'll receive an email. It'll have a list of all of those reminders for you to complete. So even if you're not in here, you won't miss those reminders. So that's really important. So that's kind of the reminders out of the way. So as we're going through, really just looking at the process, looking at the steps, understanding who we're approaching, setting those reminders, and doing the work. Once you are completed with the first phase, you can just click and drag over to the second phase. Again, looking at your best practices, steps, setting reminders, doing the work. Then you can just click and drag them over to the next phase. Now in this phase, let's say Creed gives us a verbal commitment. So that's awesome. He says, yep, you know what? I love what you guys do. I will send you $1,000. So you can go ahead and enter that pledge amount in here and hit save. Now you can see our pledge has gone up by $1,000 on the dashboard. You can see our total goal. You can see our total pledges, total proposals, and the amount received, which is currently 0. Going back into pipelines, as you go through this, we're going to, at some point, hopefully, receive those funds. At that point, finally, we can enter in the donation. So we're going to go over here to donations, and we're going to add a new donation. Now, the first thing you should really do here is search for a pipeline, because if there is a pipeline that this donation came in through, it's going to be easiest to enter in the info through that pipeline. So let's search for Creed COVID Relief. Awesome. We can select that. And you can see it autofills a lot of our fields for us because we already have that information through the pipeline. So the required fields here is the amount, the date, the target, and the giver. Pretty standard stuff. If you have the pipeline filled out, it will enter in most of that automatically. You can see our steward. So now I will get that donation to me personally. My personal widget on the dashboard will go up because that is a pipeline that I'm stewarding and the donation came in. So I should be recognized for that. My team should know that. We should all be on the same page there. Donation target, again, basic stuff. And we'll say that it was for that full $1,000. You can add a memo if you would like. You don't have to. And we will hit add on this donation. And you can see the donation is now entered. If we go to my dashboard now, you can see a couple things have been updated. You can see my personal amount received has gone up. You can see our total donations here has gone up. If I go into pipelines, you can see that this receive has gone up as well. So that's awesome. And now we can move them to stewardship, and we will keep an eye on them, make sure they're getting those updates and further stewardship related things. But for right now, let's talk about some ways that you can filter through this pipeline. So in most cases, if you're using this at any type of scale, there's going to be a lot of different users or stewards using this pipeline, and there's going to be a lot of different pipelines floating around active at any moment. So we have our filter button here. You can see a couple options. You can filter by your pipeline template. So if we wanted to look at our trip template, hit apply. Now we're looking at a totally different pipeline. This one we don't really have anything active in, but that's how you're going to filter to your different pipelines there. So we'll go ahead and go back. You can filter by your fiscal year. That's pretty self-explanatory. One that's really awesome is the steward dropdown. So again, this is going to show you a list of your internal team members. And if you select one, I'll select myself and hit apply. What happens is really awesome. So when it's selected to all stewards, really think of this as organization wide. We're looking at our total goal, total receive, total pledges. Everything is rolled together. When I select my name and hit apply, now I'm only looking at the pipelines that I'm personally stewarding. You can see it switch from total goal to my personal goal. Now I'm looking at my personal received, my personal pledge, personal proposed, and the ones that I have currently active. So that's a really helpful thing. So if you have a lot of pipelines in here, some organizations I've seen using this have hundreds of pipelines, and maybe you're just one teammate that has 7. That's how you're going to really filter down quickly to just the things you need to focus on. If I select Sal, the same deal applies. I can see Sal's goal, all of his personal numbers here, and only the pipeline that he is stewarding. So go ahead and clear these filters out. Look at everything again. And then we have the tags again as well. That works the same way. So we can say, hey, I just want to look at my board members here. I can apply that. We see that Creed here is a board member. So that's really, really simple. Of course, you can search as well. So you can search based on donation target, giver, steward, a lot of different things. So that's really easy. The last thing we're going to talk about is the completed tab. So this is really for anything that you don't need to have on your active pipeline. There's a lot of use cases for that. One example could be maybe they say, hey, we really love what you guys do, but we can't really think about this until March of next year. Reach back out then. So let's say that was the case here with Creed. So we're going to open up this pipeline. That's unfortunate. We didn't get that meeting set, but that's okay. So we're just going to go ahead and delete this. And we're going to set up a new reminder to reach back out when they mention. So we'll say reach out for new meeting time. And then we will set this out. We can set this whenever we would like again. So we'll say March, and we'll just do that first Monday in March, and we'll save that reminder. So that's super key because you don't want to forget about these givers, obviously. So setting that reminder will make sure that you don't forget about them when they're not on your active pipeline. We're going to hit edit here in the bottom right. And when we see this phase drop down, we're going to select completed. Once we hit save, you'll see that this pipeline disappears from this active pipeline list. And now it's over here in the completed list view of our pipelines. So now once that reminder goes off, we'll get that email. We'll click the link in the email. We'll be able to hop right back in here. And let's say it's now this date that they asked us to reach back out. All we have to do is hit edit, and then roll them back into our active pipeline at whatever phase you'd like, hit save, and now they are back into our active pipeline. So that's a lot of the basics here. I think we've covered a lot of the key pieces of the pipeline, how to use it, how to get it set up, and all of those types of things. The last thing that I will mention is just, again, reiterating how to customize. It's really easy. These different steps and phases. Just click your name, click settings, hit pipelines, and you'll see everything laid out. You can edit this to whatever you would like, and really customize that to make it your own. And that's a really important step here.